Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CoROM podcast. This is where academic medicine meets remote, austere, and resource-limited areas. Welcome back to the CoROM podcast. This week, I am with John Clark here in Pretty Bay, Malta. Hello, John.
Hey there, Aebhric. How are you?
Doing well. We are here on the eye care course, the intensive care for austere and remote environments. We have 10 people from 5 different countries on the course, and John is here getting a bird's eye view of the college and teaching. How have you enjoyed the week so far?
It's been great. I mean, this is a great group. It's really interesting to see all these people come together from such disparate backgrounds and experiences and gel as into a team. It's really exciting.
This is the 4th eye care that we've run. We're still kind of ironing out the kinks, but we've had good feedback from the students who are here for the fellowship credits, as well as other reasons like getting good critical care training. So what have you taught this week, John?
We've done some scenarios. I did some pulmonary ARDS scenarios this afternoon. Yesterday, we did some cardiac arrest and kind of ROSC resuscitation, and working with Dr. Chubba to put together a lot of interesting case studies that really push these guys, I think, to a limit that makes them a little uncomfortable, but they rally around and kind of enjoy it in the end. It's really been a lot of fun.
And I've been focusing on austere ultrasound, which would surprise no one listening, that I introduce ultrasound in pretty much every level that we teach. And we've brought out our 3IQ butterfly probes and given them a chance to go through fast. So, John, you recently joined the college. Tell us a bit about your background and what you're doing with CoROM.
Well, I'm a paramedic by clinical training, a lawyer by academic standards, and bringing some just a different perspective, I think, to CoROM. Excited to step into the Executive Dean role and see where we can take the college in the next couple of years. It's just really, as you know, Aebhric, I mean, we've been working with you for about 10 years from the IBSC perspective, and have just seen the college really do some great things and grow in good ways. So it's exciting to come in and have an opportunity to build on the foundation you've put here and to continue in your role as Dean Emeritus to have somebody looking over my shoulder and growing the programs.
I remember 10 years ago that we started this and we brought you over to run the IBSC exams. And I've always been curious, and I've never asked you this. What on earth convinced you to come to Malta? So you must have got an email from some yoke in a country that no one understands or knows where it is. No American can point to it on a map. And I asked you to come give the exams for 8 exams. It was not a cost effective. It's just why on earth did you come here to Malta?
Well, it's interesting. When the first time that I did come here, I booked the flight. And when I got to the airport in the U.S. to come here, I presented my passport and my ticket to the gate agent. And she's like, "Where's Malta?" And my thought was, you work for an airline. You probably should know where that is. But it's interesting that just what you're doing and how you're doing it and the students that come here, it's so easy to get behind. I just really enjoy your enthusiasm and also just the idea that you have, the mission, the vision, the clarity that you have to put this on is just amazing. And so for us, I will say this from the IBSC perspective, this really was an entree for us into much more of the international market, especially into Africa and the Middle East, than we probably would have ever been able to achieve on our own without CoROM.
So I remember when we first brought you over, it was BCC TPC, and then suddenly you had to completely rebrand into IBSC International. How did that conversation go in the board meeting on, hey, we're going to Malta a lot, now we're going to Saudi, we're going to all the other, and no one knows what BCC TPC is and stands for. How did that conversation go?
Well, in 2000, when we originally created the first certified flight paramedic exam, you're right, it was BCC TPC, which was the Board for Critical Care Transport Paramedic. And really, you could tell that we were pretty narrow focused. Our goals weren't very lofty back then because we only focused on the flight paramedic, eventually then the critical care paramedic. But what happened when we started to branch out a little bit, we created our tactical exam. Then there was a community paramedic exam. We just launched a wilderness exam. So it really wasn't just related to the critical care transport paramedic anymore. And then with the growth in overseas, Europe, Middle East, Africa, some of the Pacific Rim, Canada, Mexico, it really became apparent that we needed to look more at the international focus of things. And so it became a name change, and we are now the IBSC, the International Board of Specialty Certification.
We'll stop with the name change from there. We don't want to go Galactic Bureau of
Space Paramedic is the next thing out there.
Fair enough. And then of course the Marines will want the Space Marine, and then SM-C.
Yes.
We'll look forward to that one. So you keep coming back to Malta, and I lived here for 3 years. I've never visited here on holiday ever. It's always been work or just living here. But you keep coming back. Tell me why you like Malta.
It's so rich in history. It's amazing just to see this here. The century upon centuries of civilization that have been here, and I have a special interest in World War II history. And so to think about the siege of Malta and just the people of Malta being the only nation to receive the St. George Cross, just really interesting. There's not a street you can't walk down that I'm just in awe of just what's here. The people are so nice. The food, the seafood is outstanding. And you're in the middle of the Mediterranean. It's just absolutely remarkable. The neat thing about it, when I tell people, what's about Malta, it is this kind of tropical island that's really a desert. And if you look at the landscape, it's much more like North Africa than it would be, a tropical island. But the water is so blue, the light breeze is phenomenal, the temperatures are always great. I mean, it's a phenomenal place to come to. And then just thinking about the history that's here, it's just great. I really enjoyed it. This is probably my 6th or 7th trip here. And looking forward to coming back with the college and doing a lot more things.
I am fascinated with the history. And last night we were walking through Mdina at 10 o'clock at night and seeing those walls that have been unchanged in 600 years, 700 years. And there's one spot in Mdina that has the emblem of St. John's Hospitallers on the wall. And it's always the first place I go. And I took another photo of it last night. And it's just that it has a snake, just one snake, right? It's a proper caduceus. So one snake and a sword. And it's up on the wall. There's no plaques. There's nothing. And it's just been there for 600 years as an emblem of excellence, as an emblem of providing care in austere environments. And this is what keeps driving me. This is why I'm here in Malta. This is why I've been trying to push for austere critical care and austere degree programs. And this has been my passion. And now I have kind of handed it over to you. You've stepped up to the executive dean. You are now running the college, and I'm into an advisory role. And what is your experience with CoROM? What is your goal for CoROM? Where do you see us going in the next 5 years?
I think that the focus that CoROM has on that really niche market of the austere, the remote, really makes a lot of sense. And one of the things that I'm really excited about is really splitting CoROM. If you divided it into two parts, there's the short courses and the CPD online material that we have that is great for continuing education, is great to come learn a new skill or to refine your skills or something. And it's quick, it's easy. You can do all your online education, or you want to come to Malta for a week and do like we're doing with eye care right now, or next week with tropical medicine. I mean, it's this bolus of really interesting information taught by amazing faculty, and then interfacing with this worldwide group of people that that are here to learn. I think that's one piece of it that's really exciting. And I think we can expand that and really fill a need that is unfulfilled in so many other teaching institutions across the world. The other piece is that taking paramedicine from, a technician standard and really professionalizing that. I mean, certainly we've made huge strides to improve the profession as recognized as more than just an ambulance driver. Um, with our bachelor's degree, the master's degree, and the doctorate program, this gives an opportunity for paramedics in a very cost-effective means to enroll in an advanced program and do research and prepare themselves for leadership roles in paramedicine, and do so in such a really great environment with outstanding faculty, and be able to change the world. Honestly, I mean, that's really the mission that I've seen you've been able to put together, is these progressive programs that allow people from all walks of life, from all parts of the world, to come together and pursue a common goal, which is, making the world a better place, and doing it as a paramedic.
So here on this side of the pond, paramedics are bachelor's degree, 3-year bachelor degree programs, and every country that runs paramedics and nurses, to be fair, are doing this as degree programs. And it still pains me to see the American paramedic not embracing the academic. The paramedics are still under the Department of Transportation and not under the Department of Health. And how would you change the American paramedic program, or how do you see a change coming, or where do you see the American paramedic programs going?
I think we've come a long way even in the last 10 or 15 years, when the National Registry opted to only allow individuals who graduated from a approved, accredited paramedic program to be eligible to sit for the exam. I think that made an enormous change. I think that, the original feedback at the time when registry looked to COAMs to go ahead and accredit programs, the feedback was, oh my God, every paramedic program in the country is going to close. Nobody's going to do this. We'll never have paramedics. And that was completely unfounded. As a matter of fact, I think the stats are that they lost no paramedic programs. They actually gained paramedic programs in the US. And now those programs are accredited. They're held to a standard that's much different, and that the quality of education is improved. It's the same thing that we did with the IBSC, is that we set a bar and people achieved it, and now they're growing above and beyond that, and paramedic practice has gotten better. I think that the manifestation of community paramedic in the United States right now is going to drive this question a little further ahead. And part of that is, everybody talks about reimbursement and who's going to pay for this. But the reality is, the reason physicians, the reason PAs, the reason nurse practitioners can bill for services, because they're treated as professionals, and that makes sense to allow them to bill for a professional service. I think now with community paramedicine and some of those questions being resolved, that we'll go ahead and move forward in that realm. At least that's my hope. And I think that, CoROM is well situated to provide that. I agree, from the US model, everybody's used to a 4-year bachelor's degree, and then you can go on to do a master's program. I think looking at the EU model of the 3-year bachelor's degree, also even a lot of the postgraduate diploma work that happens in the EU is different. And therefore, I think in the US, they're not going to, embrace it immediately. But I think we're well positioned to allow paramedics to explore that and come away with a degree that is transferable into their workplace in the United States with no transition. I mean, the EU framework for degrees is accepted across the United States. There's no reason to not allow that to continue with the paramedic programs.
It's disheartening to see people like David Pfeiffer doing a 4-year bachelor's degree program, paramedic, and it's not And EMS, like you did a bachelor's of EMS management, didn't you?
I did at George Washington University in the late 80s. I did an EMS management focus, got my paramedic training there. And unfortunately, it was a model that financially was not sustainable for the university. And it's kind of come and gone through several different iterations. But you're right, what David's doing at EKU, and there are other great programs, UCLA, look at the history that Baxter Lerman had, and now with Heather. And it's amazing that those programs, they're so well positioned to make the profession better and have over the last 20 or 30 years.
I'm delighted to see that these programs are now putting more emphasis on paramedic and paramedicine instead of transitioning into the last 2 years just being EMS management. That all 4 years are focusing on the practice of healthcare, and that meets what we're seeing here in Europe, which is from day one. There's no general education anything from day one here in Europe. You are studying paramedicine, and there are no fluff courses. There's nothing but just straight paramedicine or nursing. There's just nursing, and I'm delighted to see from the state side that they are focusing on the practice of paramedicine more so than just getting a EMS. But nothing against your degree now, but just getting a EMS management degree isn't necessarily bettering your practice. And here in Europe, there's master's degrees in paramedics, and Britain has a master's of ACP, Advanced Clinical Practice, where they're treated as junior doctors because they have 10, 15 years of ambulance work to build on. And after a master's degree, they're roped into the doctoral rotation on an A&E department or GP. I think we're a long way away from that in the States. I mean, the nurses have that, of course. Don't they get a diploma or not even an associate's? They go out and practice, and if they get BSN, and then they get their MSN or a nurse practice. Now they get the DNP. And it took them how many years? 40 years, 50 years of nursing degrees before they got that. And perhaps we're going to take that long in paramedic as well.
Well, to be fair, though, I think when you compare nursing and you look back even to Florence Nightingale, the nurses have had a lot longer to do this. If you really look at the U.S. paramedic system, it grew out of the experiences from the Vietnam War in the late 60s. And so when we look at the accidental death and disability white paper from the early 70s and the work that was done by President Johnson to implement the EMS systems, we're still pretty young. I mean, granted, 50 years now, we're still kind of making our way, but I think we'll get there. I think one of the most interesting pieces of what we should be doing is on the research front. And part of that is because prove to me that being a paramedic is valuable. Prove to me that the care that we provide makes any difference in outcomes. We are horrible at answering that question. Physicians, nurses, the rest of the healthcare community, they research and they publish all the time. And that's one of the exciting things I think about the CoROM, both the master's program and the doctoral program, is this is an opportunity for paramedics to find a question that will be published in a peer-reviewed journal that can shed some light on paramedic practice. And that's really the things that especially nursing is so good at, of researching and asking those questions and answering those with solid research that they can then say, hey, this is why this has to happen because we've proven this. That's what we need to be doing, and we need to be doing it really well and very frequently.
I'm delighted to see that more and more journals that specifically focus on paramedic practice have popped up. There are 2 here in Europe, Journal of Paramedic Practice and Journal of International Paramedic Practice. Wasn't there a new one that just popped up stateside?
Yeah, there's a new journal that's kind of a joint offering between the National EMS Managers Association and the Paramedic Chiefs of Canada, called the International Journal of Paramedicine. It's a peer-reviewed scholarly journal for paramedicine that has just published their second edition, April, June of 23. And that's a great forum for paramedics to submit articles and see their name under lights for publication. But that's a great you have to publish or perish, and that's what we need to start doing.
I probably mention the Journal of Special Operations Medicine because even though it's not a paramedic journal, there's been tons and tons of 18 Delta 68 whiskeys who have published there. So it's an honorary mention for a great way for you to publish research. If you're out and about on the ground, or as a civilian-based paramedic, there's no reason why you can't submit a proposal to SOMA, which is coming up. But it's one of my favorite weeks, the conference in Raleigh, one of the best places for paramedics, civilian or military, to get cutting-edge research. And it's also a place where John and I have been side by side in the exhibition tables for 7 years now. And a lot of our conversations have started there.
Yeah, it is a great forum. If you're able to go to Raleigh in May, and we stand kind of side by side, the IBSC and CoROM, and then even Sean Keenan's group from Ragged Edge. We all kind of make this great paramedic-centric wall in the exhibit hall. But it is interesting that we look at all the changes in medicine that come out of our warfighting experience, and the just amazing amount of science that the armed forces are able to bring to bear, and then how that trickles down into civilian practice. And, when you look even at programs that are carrying TXA or whole blood, the people that were proving that again and again and again were our military medics. And so looking at the SOCOM medic that is at SOMA, it's an amazing educational opportunity. And as a civilian, if you're not 100% familiar with it, it certainly is something you should check out and come visit us.
It's coming up in May. So if you want to meet myself or John face to face, we'll be there. And both of us are jointly presenting the Tactical Medicine Review workshop, where we allow some room for you to come in and sit any one of the IBSC exams. So I definitely want to welcome John to the college. And as you have heard over the last wee bit, that there's been a very long history and overlap between IBSC and the college, and between myself and John. And I would encourage you to come and meet John at SOMA or send us an email. And I look forward to seeing what you can do with the college in the next few years.
I think it's going to be really an exciting challenge. And for all the listeners out there, they're wondering what the next step is. Yeah, shoot an email, get involved, and hopefully we'll see you in some of the CoROM classes coming up soon.
This has been a presentation from the College of Remote and Offshore Medicine Foundation. If you would like to earn CPD credit for this podcast, you can join the Council of Members. Being a member of the college gives you free CPD credits, free access to the virtual field guide, and discounts on our e-learning courses. You can join the team on the college website, which is CoROM, CoROM, CoROM.org.